You can't be serious, Delius replied. What you're suggesting, it isn't possible. There's no way. Joining your war, it would mean the end of everything. I would have to sacrifice everything that I know for it. My people. I would grow old and wither away. While for them, basically no time at all would pass. Absolutely not, Delius replied, almost feeling anger in the moment. I really don't think that you understand the real depth of the differences between us, the orb replied. You wouldn't age away like we do. Yes, your time and ours function differently. This is because of the intense gravitational forces on your world. Functionally, time passes slower there. But, as I said, your world and even your people are vastly different from our own. We've learned through research and study, observation and analysis of the true depth of the differences between us. For example, we've discovered that your people are basically immune to the temporal difference between your world and ours. What? What are you talking about? Delius replied, feeling somewhat confused and still not quite settled with the situation. Listen, yes, time on your world does pass slower relative to normal space. However, your physical bodies are immune to this. Somehow, despite the fact that you exist within a slower frame rate of time, in which time passes much slower than it does in the rest of the universe, your bodies still exist on the same timeline that ours do. For example, tell me, have you ever heard your heartbeat? Heartbeat? Delius replied. Yes, a pounding in your chest. Have you ever heard it? Well, no. Well, let me tell you, Delius, when normal people get worked up, our hearts beat faster in order to circulate blood through the rest of our body. And this kicks up things like the fight or flight response, increasing stamina, adrenaline, so that we can fight longer, run faster, things like that. Yet, even during the height of conflict, you've never experienced that, have you? Well, no, Delius replied. But my race and your race are different, right? Well, yes, functionally in many ways we are different. That's the point of our conversation, after all. However, physiologically, you still possess a heart, like most other races. However, your heart is not beating within the temporal frame of your world. Physically, your bodies are active on the level of our universe. It's only your mind that seems to have adjusted to the slower frame rate of time. Somehow, your conscious minds have adapted to that slower passage of time, so that you can remain conscious and active within it. But your body continues to function within the normal rate of time. You don't hear your heartbeat because your heart is beating too fast for you to hear it. For you, trying to hear a single beat of your heart is next to impossible because it's beating so fast, it's like a constant hum rather than a single beat. Your constant mind is simply too focused on maintaining its focus on existing within your slower frame of time. According to the scans we've taken, this ability to physically exist within normal time-space is produced by somewhat of a field of energy that your bodies seem to produce that completely negate the effects of the slower timeline created by the intense gravitational forces there. So, even if we were to pull you off world, your time wouldn't slip away like ours does. In fact, it would only feel like you had more of it. You would watch the rise and fall of entire empires before living out the course of your life, untouched by time. Essentially, your people live for countless millennia, possibly even longer. We're still trying to calculate your total lifetime expectancy. But, quite frankly, the numbers are just absurd. Helping us fight this war wouldn't even put a dent in your lifespan. Even if you spent centuries here, you wouldn't age a day. And when we returned you to your world, basically no time at all will have passed for them. You can slip right back into your life with almost no effective change whatsoever. I wouldn't be surprised if it was within a few days of you leaving. For those on your planet, it would have just been that, a few days. But for you, you could have experienced an entire lifetime and more. For a moment, Delius was taken back by this information, unsure of how to process it and what it all really meant. Could he truly help deal with this? What would it be like to live entire lifetimes and then return home as if nothing happened? No, Delius said, starting to shake it off, shaking his head a bit. What would be the point? So what? You contract me into your war effort. What good would it do? From the way you speak it, you have vast cities filled with countless people. The population of a single one of your militaries greater than that of our entire world. What good is a single warrior when you have entire armies of them? Once again, Delius, it's the differences between us that matter. In this specific circumstance, yes, we have countless warriors, soldiers trained, who spent years of their life preparing for war and combat. However, none of them are like you, Delius. The radiation that your body seems to produce that nullifies this temporal difference only protects you from the temporal difference. The immense gravitational forces and heat and other such things that exist on your world still affect your body in the same way. As such, your physical being is, well, in comparison to ours, next to indestructible. Your strength, well, quite frankly, we would have trouble even fathoming it. Truthfully, the probes that we send to the surface in order to scan for information are limited in a certain aspect. We are unable to truly gauge the full effect of the immense gravitational and heat signatures that exist on your world, the effects that you live under every day. Quite frankly, they're so severe that even the instruments necessary to test it and study it would never survive the extreme nature of the conditions in order to get a reading. We are limited to visual scan only, things that can be conveyed through the separation of light and its countless wavelengths, energies, and things of that nature. Unfortunately, the metal that we use to coat these probes nullifies the gravitational effects of your world and protects against the extreme heat, radiation, and other forces, but it does not lend itself well to the passage of signals. It simply blocks them out. We can't project any sort of signal from inside of it, or receive any signal from outside of it other than the one specifically honed to pass through it, which, believe me, is a difficult task, because the only signal that can pass through it is a temporal one, a micro-fracture in time that we create and then pass the signal through, basically opening a micro-tear in time within the form of the pod, the probe that you see now. However, this doesn't allow us to extract information from outside of it. Simply interact with the mechanics that are included within the device. But I suppose I'm getting sidetracked from the point. That being that once you leave your world, while you may feel somewhat strong there, here, you would be next to untouchable. Quite frankly, we don't know if we have a weapon that would be capable of killing you, or even really harming you. The probes that we send to your world are meant to withstand the most extreme of forces. This is not a soft material, Delius. The material that these orbs are made of is some of the strongest stuff that we have. And yet, even your children are able to crush it. Not even on purpose. By accident. Easier than popping a balloon. As if it was nothing at all. Once you leave your world, everything will be like that. Even the strongest of materials will crumble in your grasp. You'll rip through steel like tissue paper with your bare hands and think nothing of it. And these are only the most minuscule of possibilities. Quite frankly, we have no ideas what the limitations of your true strength might be once you leave that world. But that strength is exactly what we need. This war isn't going to be easy, and having you on our side would greatly allow us to reduce casualties and reach our end goal much sooner. With someone like you on our side, we could save a great many lives, Delius. So, what do you say? Will you help us?